Welcome to hell. So you may have noticed that my podcast is called Descent into Hell. And I wanted to offer a short video as to the reasoning behind that name. On the one hand, there's a practical reason there were no podcasts called Descent into Hell, because frankly, it doesn't sound that pleasant, but that's also sort of exactly what the podcast is about. See, whether you're an Orthodox Christian or not, there's something to be said for the reality that life gives you hell. Whether you want it or not, it can happen as a result of your actions, or it can happen in spite of your actions. We can create hell for ourselves, or we can undergo experiencing the hell of other people's wrongful actions. But there's another aspect of this as well, as people like St. Paisius would say, commenting on the passage of the rich man and Lazarus. The reason the rich man didn't suffer is because God had forsaken him. There's a sense in which suffering purifies, just like gold going through a fire refines, and how we respond to this suffering ultimately informs how we are transformed. As C.S. Lewis once said, each and every decision that you make is turning that little part of you that chooses, into either a hellish creature or a heavenly one. There's another reason for the name as well. It's a nod to the 1937 book by Charles Williams, Descent into Hell. In this book, the heroine of the story is plagued by a chronic anxiety of fear. But as time goes on, she meets this man, and he suggests something bizarre to her that she had never thought of before. He said, "Why don't you let me carry this for you? I will take this. I will take your worry. You relax for a little bit. Let me take it." And that's a great comfort to her. Now, this entire novel by Williams is about his belief in what he would call the doctrine of substitutionary love, which he takes from the Bible verse, "Bear one another's burdens." Just like Christ bore our sin on the cross, we too can bear the burdens of others. We too, when we are courageous enough to face our own hell, descend into the hell of our own hearts and see what lurks there, are accompanied by Christ, who then, as we repent, raises us back up and allows us. And this allows us the ability, as other human beings are suffering, to go with them voluntarily into their own hell. And, God willing, be an incarnate Christ to them and help them be raised from that hell on earth into a foretaste of heaven, into a transformed individual. And so the themes, as you will have noticed probably by now, of this podcast, Descent into Hell, have largely been about people's pain and suffering. These are hard issues, but as we stare into the darkness and we descend even further into our own hearts, what we realize is that those that are the perpetrators of this suffering, those that do the most heinous acts, be it Hitler, or be it Stalin, or be it the man down the street who's beating his children, we ourselves have that same capacity within us. And indeed, if we are honest with ourselves, we have fantasized about some sort of cruelty to other people. And if we cannot realize that about ourselves, we cannot heal. I'm reminded of a few books here, which are actually recommended by Jordan Peterson on this theme specifically. The lives of ordinary men, of just ordinary German farmers and men that are drafted in to commit horrible acts of murder. And what you find, as the author details the lives of these ordinary men, is that you make a choice, and indeed it changes that part of you. You begin to not worry so much. At first you're horrified about what you're doing, but then you become numb to it and you're not worried. Eventually some enjoyed it. And others, like in the horrifying account of the rape of Nanking, yet another book, others devised games to play with human life. This is the reason this podcast is named Descent into Hell, because it is a calling for us to descend into the hell of our own hearts, face it without excuse, and be raised with Christ. And then to do it over and over and over again, not just in our own hearts, but with other human beings as well. That's really all I wanted to say. As always, thanks for watching. If you haven't already and you're able to, please consider joining as a member here on YouTube. It's $2 a month, and it helps us work towards sustainability. You can also join on Patreon. Those links are in the description, as well as links to a bunch of other fun things, so be sure to check those out.